Hey, welcome to Apollo City Comics. I'm Brandon.
And I am David.
Oh, and today, is this our first Marvel episode? Dun, dun, it is.
I think it is, man.
Yeah.
Well, we went really hard on Watchmen.
Super hard.
I was looking back,
and now
it
I
was
see it
like
everywhere.
Wow. Yeah, you can't escape.
Did you find Watchmen references in here?
You know, I feel like I'd be forcing it. I mean, I guess opposed to like the Solitude base in space. You know what I mean?
Oh, there you go.
Very similar.
Mm-hmm.
But
Did this come out after Watchmen?
let's get into it. I mean, I'm pretty sure it did, right? Let me get my trade paperback open as well. So if we haven't even talked about it yet, but today we're talking about Infinity Gauntlet, and Brandon went full force. He was talking mad trash. Like, this is so boring, I can't read it. And then he's pretty much read like every chunk of the Infinity story, which if you buy the trade paperback, it gives you an order to read things. And it basically says, oh, if you want to understand all of Infinity, just read these 18 trade paperbacks.
Yeah, sent you that link, yeah.
It's insane. Well, I mean, even in the trade paperback itself, it has a little map and it tells you, like, start here. The very first page. And then I thought, oh, yours is different, huh?
Oh, is it?
Yeah, look at mine.
Oh, and see, there's this one right here.
Yeah, it gives you 1 through 9. It says, like, here.
Let's read it off. Let's see what...
So it says the first thing you need to read is Avengers versus Thanos.
I've read that.
Silver Surfer, Rebirth of Thanos.
I've read that.
Infinity Gauntlet,
I've read that.
Main book we're talking about. Silver Surfer Epic Collection, The Infinity Gauntlet.
Let me see it. Let me see the cover. I've read some of those.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Then we have Infinity Gauntlet Aftermath.
I didn't even touch that. Well, some of it. I've read some of the Infinity Watch stuff.
Infinity War. Infinity War Aftermath.
No.
Infinity Crusade Volume 1.
And 2.
And Volume 2. Then we have Infinity Watch Volume 2.
Read some of that.
Marvel Universe The End.
I'm reading that right now.
Oh, wow. Thanos Infinity Abyss. Oops, sorry.
I've read that.
Thanos Redemption.
I haven't read that.
Infinity.
I just got that.
Thanos The Infinity Revelation hardcover.
No, I haven't read that.
Thanos The Infinity Relativity hardcover.
I haven't gotten that.
The Infinity Entity.
Yeah, I just got that too.
And then Thanos The Infinity Finale hardcover.
Yeah, I just got that too.
Wow. I mean,
it's so much.
They expect you to go through all this stuff. And, well, let's just jump right in. So if you read Infinity Gauntlet, you're like, say you watched Infinity War, the movie. You're waiting for Endgame to come out. This episode will come out actually after Endgame comes out. And then you're thinking, oh, I'll read this and see how close it is.
Don't.
The beginning, don't first off. So Thanos gets all the Infinity Gems without even... It's not even in Infinity Gauntlet. Infinity Gauntlet starts off, and he already has them.
Has them. It's in this one, Rebirth of Thanos.
Yeah.
That's what you guys want to get pre all this. This gives you Silver Surfer issues of... It starts off with the Silver Surfer meeting Death and Thanos.
Okay.
And then...
and Death is a huge part of the story.
Huge.
Yeah.
Like, the motivation.
Yeah. Yeah, it is.
And, well, Rebirth of Thanos is essentially Thanos' quest. Infinity War that came out is essentially Thanos' quest. So if you want to read a story that talks about Thanos getting the gems like he was doing in the film, that's what you want to get.
And correct me if I'm wrong, because I saw some videos that were kind of like a summary of this whole storyline. In the Thanos quest, he is getting the gems from these powerful beings, but he's kind of like tricking them or defeating them.
Yeah.
But our cast of superheroes that we all know, they don't show up at all.
None.
In that conflict.
This is all cosmic Marvel. 100%
crazy,
cosmic.
Yeah, alien planets and celestial beings
Even
and
when
gods.
we get into Infinity Gauntlet, like, you're dealing with infinity and eternity and Lord of Order and chaos and the Triple Tribune or something like that. What's it called?
Oh, the thing that all the powerful beings are in? Is that what you're talking about?
No. The something tribunal. Oh my god, I'm spacing that name so hard.
Who knows? I mean, there's just so much, and for a casual reader, it's a lot of stuff that is off the wall and like unheard of for sure.
The Living Tribune. That's what it's called.
Oh, okay.
Living Tribunal. All right.
Living Tribunal. Okay.
And that's like the ultimate being in the Marvel universe. That is the head honcho god and everything. Yeah. Well, first off, this came out in 1991.
Okay.
So post Watchmen, so there has to be some Watchmen.
There's got to be a little bit of Watchmen in here somewhere.
What do you think of it? As like someone who hasn't read these type of... Have you read older Marvel books before?
I've read a lot of older... I like 90s Marvel I read a lot of.
But
like X-Men and Spider-Man.
70s Marvel?
I definitely read a lot of 80s X-Men.
Claremont stuff.
70s, I gotta say, I probably haven't gone back that far. Maybe the occasional like What If issue or something. But I feel like What If might have been in the 80s. I don't know. Older stuff, I don't know that well. Like
the Kree Skrull War, that essentially Captain Marvel was loosely intertwined with. It was a rough read for me, man. And that's one of the biggest like classic stories out there. And like what Neil Adams worked on it and such like that. But man, sometimes the writing just gets rough at some point.
Well, it's very like... I think it's like a stereotypical comic book.
Yeah.
Like if someone wasn't into comic books and they thought, oh, comic books are just this. Mm-hmm. This is what they would be talking about.
Yeah.
And some of it is good, but I feel like the characters...
There's so many.
And it doesn't seem like any of them really have personalities, which is one huge thing. If you've just seen MCU and you pick up this book... You kind of expect Thor to be a certain way. You expect Iron Man to be a certain way. And a lot of those characteristics in these movies were kind of like made up for the movie.
Yeah.
Or at least provided by the actor.
Yeah.
Like if Robert Downey Jr. was an Iron Man, it'd be a really different portrayal, I think.
I can see that.
Spider-Man is always Spider-Man, though. That's one thing I noticed when I was reading this book.
You do nail Spider-Man, because Spidey just has... You make a
just
joke.
Quips.
Yeah,
he's just like, whoa, watch out, hothead, or something stupid. You know what I mean? That's always something like that.
And then you always have, like, the parenting, like, Mr. Fantastic and whatnot. Yeah. You know what I mean?
There's some tropes that stay
seeing in the Hulk are always just ready to fight. Like, what did you say to me? Let's rumble. You know what I mean? That's their lines every time they get spoken to. Cyclops is, like, giving orders and just, like, kind of... being a jerk.
Overall, at the beginning, it took me a little bit to get into it. I think it has a really slow beginning. Infinity Gauntlet.
Yeah.
But once it starts picking up, I dived into it, man.
Because it gets so cosmic. You have Galactus in there and everything, you know?
There's also, like, I wasn't expecting it to be so brutal, and I don't want to get into it yet. Like, I kind of want to go through the whole book, but... I think you know what I'm talking about. There's some stuff that they do to some of these characters that you're like, whoa, the movies would never go for that.
Nebula.
Like, yeah.
Nebula.
Wow,
right
Nebula by itself.
Oh.
All right, so at the beginning of this book, we have Thanos. He already has the Infinity Gauntlets. He already like pictures himself a god, essentially. And he's got this servant, I guess, Mephisto, who I was totally unfamiliar with. I don't know if you know Mephisto.
Oh, yeah, Mephisto's just essentially the devil in the Marvel Universe.
Oh, okay. Yeah, see, I wasn't clear about who that guy was. Well, he's serving Thanos, essentially. But I mean, if you know he's the devil ahead of time, then you should know not to trust him. You know what I mean? That he's in for his own well-being. But then we have something that actually, and it's really early on in the pages of the trade paperback. You have Silver Surfer crash on Earth and talk to Doctor Strange.
He's begging for Strange, and he's trying to heed the warning and everything.
And that's almost exactly how it plays out in the movie, which I thought was cool.
Yeah, so cool.
And that almost pretty much ends all the similarities between the movie and the comic book.
First 5 pages, no. Yeah. And watching the film, you see that, and you're just like, oh, that's cool how they tied that in. They don't have rights. Yeah. And you're just like, but no, it's all different.
Another thing you got to think of, too, and just to get this out of the way, this book has all of Marvel at its grasp. They can pick anything they want. In the movies, and I think they successfully did a good job, they focus for a long time on one character, building him up through different movies. And then in Infinity War, you don't have to worry about knowing any of the characters or necessarily even developing them anymore. You just put them all together, and the audience is like, okay, I know all of these people.
We've grown with them for the last 10 years. You know what I mean? It's insane how well they've set this up.
So there's huge differences, but the setup was all different, and that's why. I think... Well, this actually ties into what happens next in the book, too. We get Thanos' main motivation. He's into Mistress Death.
Yeah, he wants Mistress Death to just love him, to be with him, and he just wants her so bad.
And she is uninterested. Yeah. She's 110% uninterested.
Just blowing him off. She's like, dude, stop.
So
stop.
Thanos decides, in order to impress her, to kill half of the universe by snapping his fingers.
Yeah, showing like, hey, I can kill a lot too.
Exactly.
I have that power.
So he does the finger snap, and this is when our heroes find out. Because they're all doing, their typical superhero thing, and then people just vanish. Yeah. There's no, little ash floating off, which was a really nice touch in the movie.
Yeah.
In this thing, it's just like you blink and they're gone. Kind of like that show, The Leftovers. Have you seen Leftovers?
I've heard about it, though.
That's exactly how Leftovers starts. Really? And there's no one sees anyone fade away. It was just in an instant, everyone's gone. It's a really good show.
And I think that's really cool how they did it in the movie because they were trying to really mix that elemental earth, like losing your essence type of thing during that snap. And watching the film, and that happens at the very end, I thought that was so cool. Because, I mean, this was Thanos' quest and then the first moments of Infinity Gauntlet. And now we're going to essentially see Infinity Gauntlet.
The rest of it. And maybe some of what happens in war, I think.
You think?
It's kind of hard to tell. I think it's mostly going to be Infinity Gauntlet, though. So I'm going to be curious to see if they work some stuff out, like how it goes in the book. But, but my major gripe, though, is like Thanos does all of this just to impress some woman who's totally uninterested. It's lame. It's a lame motivation.
And that's why the film is so good, because his motivation
His motivation is he's just the classic villain who wants to better the world but doesn't realize what he's doing.
He's the Ra's al Ghul of the universe.
Yeah, exactly. And on top of all that, like the ridiculous motivation, every time he gets turned down, he throws like a little hissy fit.
Yeah, he
like,
throws a tantrum.
He's like, "Oh, what do I got to do to impress her? Maybe I'll have to do."
And he even creates another girl to make her jealous, and then he's like, "Maybe that wasn't right. I'm sorry. Like, I wish, you know."
It's sad, and you know what? I'm a high school teacher. It reminds me of like, and maybe Brandon experienced this in high school. You always have that one friend who's like obsessed with some girl, and it's clear the girl has no interest. Period. But for some reason, you get it in your head like, well, if I just say this and if I do this and blah, blah. It's like, that's not the way the world works, man. She's just not interested. You need to just like back off.
The way the universe works.
Yeah. Thanos was creeping hard. But he's also super twisted. Like, I mean, obviously he's evil in the movie, but in this book, his brother, he like removes his mouth with the power of the magic.
And then his brother's name?
I don't know what his name is.
I have it right here. Wolverine, Quasar.
Like mentioned.
Titan. Oh, Eros.
Eros, there we go. And his granddaughter in this book, right? Because Nebula's his daughter in the movies.
Yeah.
His granddaughter in this book, Nebula.
Oh, it's his granddaughter?
Yeah.
Wow.
He makes her some kind of like zombie creature, and it's disgusting.
Yeah, it's creepy. It's real creepy.
It's one of my favorite it's one of my favorite character designs in the book because it's just so hardcore. It looks like a early horror comic book. But that's one thing I do that we haven't mentioned yet. I just really love the colors and the art style. In the book.
I was going to mention. I have a note just on that. I mean, the artwork, George Perez and what's his name? I want to say it's Ron Lim or something like that. Ron Lim. Their pencils and everything they created is so trippy. So much going on.
Yeah.
George Perez has had the coolest jobs in the comic book industry.
Oh, really?
He's doing Infinity Gauntlet, where we see an awesome cast of characters just going at it in a cosmic battle. And for DC at the time, before all this, he did, and this was back, way before this, he did Crisis on Infinite Earths. And in that, you literally see every single DC character except for Hal Jordan Green Lantern.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's
insane.
He
has drawn everybody, and what like a win as a comic book artist. He actually just retired doing conventions, but he's maintaining certain he's older now, it's harder for him to travel to do stuff. But what I thought was funny is that he has a handful of conventions that he's going to stay at. One of them is some adult convention that he does commissions and everything for, but it's like the Whips and Chains type of adult convention. It's crazy. It's in Florida.
So is he drawing like naked comic book characters?
I don't know.
Or something?
I want to see. And another one's Dragon Con. It's like this adult like S&M like festival, and then Dragon Con. Like
what?
I know. It's great.
That's pretty incredible, man. That's hilarious. I can't believe that. Pretty much from here, the heroes get mobilized. They start talking to each other. They're trying to get the team together. Dr. Doom shows up.
Dr. Doom. There was a funny scene in the very beginning. Nick Fury is smoking a cigar in space, like talking to the Kree, and I was like, "What? Like, what an awesome dude!" It's just like Nick Fury's just smoking a cigar.
Yeah.
And it's talk about totally. As a comic book fan, we always talk about, I want an adaptation. I want a direct adaptation. But what's so cool about this is that, yes, we have the book and the Infinity Gauntlet. It's cool. It's a cool story. Maybe not the best I would have chose to adapt, but I'm glad they didn't fully adapt it. They adapted it for their universe in the MCU, and they pulled it off so well so far. even introducing the Black Order, they come into a series called Infinity, with Jonathan Hickman also wrote and everything as well. I think with Jim Starlin. And Infinity that's like a whole nother ballpark. It's like more modern and everything.
Oh,
but
that's cool.
that's where those characters came from. Like they blended so much of the history together and used what they had and still made it epic and huge and like crazier than this almost so far.
I think so. To be honest, I really like how the movie handled it better. Not only is the motivation better, but I think the build-up is way better.
So, do you think that Thanos was right?
Well, so it's
overpopulation. We've talked about this. It's a thing. It's an issue. You know what I mean?
I think part of where he kind of gets himself in trouble, though, is that, you know, he's trying to say, hey, let's like feed everyone and everything. But he also, because he makes a comment like that in the movie, right?
Yeah.
That like people are going to run out of food or whatever. But then he also killed half of like animal life as well. Like it's 50% of all living life. So
that's a good loophole.
So it's like a bunch of like food essentially is gone. And then also you got to think, you know, he's trying to say, hey, this is what's good. This is what we need to happen. But you can't just disappear half of a population and expect society not to like fall apart.
Yeah.
Because you don't know who's going to be gone.
Yeah.
It's just ridiculous. I mean, you got to think like, okay, what if we just randomly got rid of everyone, half of the population? It's just totally fair. No one gets any kind of bias. Mm-hmm. But the other option is we all die from starvation. Then that decision becomes a little bit easier.
Yeah.
In Thanos' decision, the world was maybe not doing the best.
But it wasn't like on the verge of
destruction.
Yeah.
Like, let's put Earth forward, 100, 200 years in the future. There's not enough food for people. People are literally starving to death. Then Thanos makes that decision. It might be painted in a different light.
Yeah, I can see that.
And that's what's cool about this whole story is because it's like one of those movies or books or whatever you read and you talk with your friends and you have that hypothetical conversation because there is a kernel in there that's like, well, it's not all bad, I guess. Yeah, it's sad to think about, but what's the other option? So he's not totally wrong, but he's also just completely deluded.
Yeah,
and
I see that.
In the book and in the movie, he tries to make it seem like he's doing this for the betterment of people, but really Thanos is doing this for himself.
Yeah, it's all
him. He wants to be a god. He wants to be all powerful. And in this book, he's trying to get Mistress Death. That's what's trying to happen right now.
He's just trying to get it on.
That's all that's going on.
Also, there's a heavy skull presence, which is cool because we're getting that presence now in the films as well, and I thought that was interesting. Just seeing the Skrulls in general, I think the Skrull and the Kree are such heavy Marvel hitters. It's awesome seeing them in action finally.
I think they have if they do Captain Marvel 2, there's great potential to do like a crazy sci-fi, almost kind of like a thriller. Like you don't know who's who. And...
Yeah, well, that's Identity Crisis is DC. Secret Invasion.
Yes.
And that's where they're kind of pointing it towards, that maybe the Skrull have been here this whole time, and maybe not everyone is who we think they are.
That's cool, man. That's an intriguing storyline.
Yeah. I mean, I haven't read it.
I wonder if it's too ambitious to adapt. It's hard to say.
We got to read it.
Yeah, we should.
We should.
Well, I think the next big thing we got to talk about. So the superheroes are kind of getting together. Doctor Doom shows up. They're all like, "Well, I don't want to. How can we trust him?" Which is like the running theme. How can we trust this guy? But Adam Warlock shows up, and Adam Warlock is maybe the biggest part of this story that's not in the movie. I think that's a big deciding factor. I'm not entirely sure who Adam Warlock is. I feel like I've never even heard of him other than these couple things recently because of this. Yeah,
he's essentially... I mean, Jim Starlin has created all of this. He was the one that created Thanos. And Thanos, off topic a little bit, is totally dark side of the Marvel Universe.
Yeah, I can hear Frank in my headphones.
Yeah, me too. Yeah.
Darkseid was first then, right?
Yeah.
Because they look the same. And to be honest, when I was a kid, I always got them confused.
Yeah.
And they're also both pretty generic.
And they both kind of look purple. I mean, Darkseid was kind of purple when he first came out.
Oh, really? Okay.
Yeah.
I didn't see
that grayish purple. Yeah, I mean, I don't know.
They're both kind of whatever villains for me, to be honest. I just don't think they're that interesting. What else do they have other than I want to control the universe? What else do they offer? Yeah. I don't know.
Yeah.
There's no conflict or anything, but...
Yeah. And they're both, unbeatable in the sense of, a fight. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? Like,
That's great.
Yeah.
That's a great example though of like the DC Marvel copying from each other,
there's
stealing
so many.
things. There's so
Oh,
many
man,
things.
so many.
Deadpool, Deadshot. Wait,
Deathstroke.
Deathstroke. Oh
Yeah,
my gosh,
I
there's
know.
too
Well,
many.
and then Deadshot, and
Yeah,
then you
like-
have like the planned words.
Yeah,
on
it's
that.
too many.
Okay, wait, real fast. We're
Yeah.
talking about the artwork. One that caught my eye was page 54. I'll try to throw an image up here too.
There you go.
This page with Doctor Strange by itself,
Yeah.
so awesome.
There were so many of these moments too where like I'd finished reading the page and then I just had to like really soak it in.
Yeah, you
There's a
look
ton
at
of these moments in
everything.
this
You could
book.
stare at this for 5-10 minutes and discover new stuff. And just the way they put the panels, his
Yeah.
cape, how it creates panels and leads into things. Like, it's the border.
I would say, dude, like of all the books we've read on the show, this one's probably gotten me the most. As far as like I need to look at something and like soak it in. Like
Yeah.
another one is super simple. It's just a couple pages later. 57. You have this image of like Thanos holding the Infinity Gauntlet,
Mm-hmm.
and each gem is like ricocheting light off of it, and they're all crossing each other and everything. It's just so
It's
interesting.
like a Kiss concert.
Yeah.
The page before it, that panel with Doctor Doom,
Yeah.
so Jack Kirby. That
Yeah,
was totally
that's cool.
the angle that we're coming at, the weirdness of the technology and how it's all warped and kind of just looks weird and awesome and
Mm-hmm.
insane. Also coming up, I think our graphics are on the same
Page numbers. Yeah, I
and
think so.
everything. If we look at page 69, Doom references the Beyonder. Do you know who the Beyonder is?
I feel like I do, but I don't know. It sounds really familiar. Like I've read or seen something with him in it before.
Beyonder was in two big crisis of Marvel has more crisis than DC does, if you really think about it. It's kind of funny. But that was the Secret Wars
that's
villain.
hilarious. Okay, yeah.
Do you remember? He was even the villain in the Spider-Man cartoon of Secret Wars.
That's probably what I'm thinking of,
Yeah,
to be honest, because
yeah.
I watched that cartoon a lot when I was a kid.
Yeah, the Secret Wars episodes were awesome.
Complete side note, but that show's like hard to get through now.
Yeah.
It's like one of those shows you can't go back to.
I
like,
remember like getting excited over the Punisher and Daredevil episodes.
Yeah.
And I tried watching on Hulu when it was up there, and I was like, oof. Ooh. And it's funny because that was out the same time Batman the Animated
well,
Series was.
X-Men too, man. And I
Yeah.
remember X-Men being so good, and it's so painful.
Rough.
Batman
It's hard.
though, Batman animated series. If
Watch that all
if we
day and
need to
night.
even say it again, you know what I mean?
Yeah. We'll do something on that this year. But the Beyonder was the villain for Secret Wars and Secret Wars 2.
Okay.
And I thought that was a cool little reference. So kind of, a little deep cut, but like if you know the major events
Yeah.
in Marvel history, you'll totally get that reference. What else? In
I'm
the
kinda
beginning,
looking
there's
ahead
so
here.
much. But Adam Warlock.
Oh yeah, let's get back to Adam Warlock.
He was created by Stan Lee and Jack Kirby, and at the time he wasn't named yet. He was named. It was him and it was her, and they were like these purified experiments that these scientists on Earth created. What happened was that him, which is Warlock, awoke and everything, realized what he was, and he took off from Earth. He tried to find himself and discover himself in the universe, and he gave himself a name and he gave himself an image, and he kind of realized that he has a kind of like how Silver Surfer has the powers cosmic. He has something similar like that.
Oh, cool.
And he's like this, essentially a mage, just this wizard of space and everything, which is kind of cool. And that's why he has a staff and all that. But his journey and his storyline continues through every Infinity thing we just named. Kind of goes through all that, and even in
that's
current
cool.
comics, he's getting bigger as well. But I mean, Jim Starlin is the one that came in and made the changes to Warlock and created Thanos. And do you say Thanos or Thanos?
I've always said Thanos, but I don't.
I think I mix them up all the time. I
don't
always
know.
forget.
Thanos. I feel like I've heard that a lot too.
Yeah.
There's always these.
It's like
these
Raish
comic
and
book
Ra's al
things.
Ghul.
Yeah,
Yeah,
that's a great
you know?
example. That one's rough.
But Jim Starlin, kind of revamped everything. He did a whole Warlock series, and that was like a total 2000 AD sci-fi, like space-thrilled monsters in the background all the time. And that's where Pip came into the picture. Gamora was created then as well.
Oh, cool.
And then I think she was still the daughter of Thanos.
Okay.
But she looks radically different. He also created Drax.
And Drax looks totally
Drax,
different. in here, too.
Drax looks like a little superhero here
Yeah.
with his cape, and he's all
Yeah.
like, it's cool. They did reinvent him for this series called Annihilation and Annihilation Conquest.
Okay.
There's a 4-part Drax miniseries, and that's where they redid his look and redid the Guardians of the Galaxy to what we know them as now.
Oh, okay.
But the previous Guardians of the Galaxy was with Yondu, and at the end of Guardians 2, we see that old team. That's the actual Guardians of the Galaxy. That's the original one. But Jim Starlin revamped all this, and so it gave him some identity. It gave him purpose, and I'm not too familiar with the Jack Kirby Stan Lee stuff regarding that, but I know her, I want to say it was like Silver Surfer's love interest or something like that. Yeah, because she was a purified being.
I really miss Silver Surfer. Like, I wish that he was in the MCU, especially in the story. It's so heavy on Silver Surfer.
Yeah, well, him and Adam, it's all about Adam's journey. You know, him and Thanos. Those are the two heroes, and the protagonist and antagonist.
And the next step essentially is like Adam Warlock introducing himself to the Avengers, to the superhero team, and they kind of elect him the leader because he knows the most about Thanos.
And he ends up living inside of the Soul Gem for a while, so he becomes a part of the Soul Gem. And there's the Soul World and everything too.
And I think the Soul Gem thing is really going to play into the next movie. Like, I really see that happening.
I could see Gamora being inside the Soul Gem.
Well, I could see all of the heroes that got erased in the Soul Gem is what I'm saying. And I think there's going to be a point in Endgame where we're going to be following the alive heroes, and then we're going to flip to a scene and we're going to see the other heroes, and they're going to be trying to like bust their way out or something.
I could see that for sure.
Because I also feel like you can't have all of Endgame and not have Spider-Man in any of it.
Oh, yeah,
like,
for sure.
He can't just show up right at the end. Oh, you brought me back to life. Thanks, guys.
Yeah.
Like, some of those people need to be in it.
And, well, it's funny. Spider-Man has met Thanos so many times. And during this week, I read Infinity Gauntlet, Infinity War, Infinity Crusade, Infinity Abyss, Infinity the End. And I've already read Rebirth of Thanos.
Yeah.
And I've already read some of the Silver Surfers and prequels to that as well. And even the death of Captain Marvel is a prominent character in all these series.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, super prominent.
Well, that makes sense that they're bringing her in then.
Yeah, I could see that, and I think I don't know how she is in the newer stuff. I gotta look into that. Where was I going with that?
Oh, I think you're talking about how many times Spider-Man's met Thanos.
Oh, he's met him. And every time, like, the Silver Surfer meets Thanos or Spider-Man meets Thanos, they're always like, oh, we're teaming up with Thanos? How could we ever trust him? It's like, guys, you've trusted him for some of the biggest, like, storylines ever, and you're still saying, what? Thanos?
Just because they have to.
And it's still Jim Starlin writing it. It's not like he's moving them
or he's forgotten or something.
Yeah, like...
And the part that doesn't make sense, and this is jumping way ahead to the end, but they defeat Thanos, but then pretty much turn around on an instant and get Thanos to help him out in the next thing. You know what I mean?
Yes, that's
it's
every
so
storyline.
fast.
They always get Thanos to help them. Even in War, even in Crusade, and everything, Thanos comes back. Infinity Abyss is kind of like Thanos was testing, essentially, like, not like the whole plot of it, but one of the major plots is that Thanos was like knowing that he was going to die, and he felt like he should always be around. So he was making duplicates of himself, and some of them he was mixing up together, and some are stronger than others. And he made all these like random clones, and they thought that they defeated Thanos, so he went to hiding, and he tried recruiting people to help defeat these like alternate Thanoses.
Oh, okay.
And so he has to turn around and recruit all these people, and then he's just like, I'm gonna help you defeat what I just made, and I'm on your side. And what would he say? Something about Thanos only injures those who Thanos wants to, like, if I'm on it, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like,
and they say something like that in this book too.
Yeah.
Like, Thanos will only let us win if Thanos wants us to.
Yeah, like, and it's just like, stop, dude. But he's the villain, and then he goes and tries to help him. Yeah. There's actually a Galactus Thanos in Infinity Abyss. He fused it, and he's just like, I didn't think it'd work. There's some discrepancies.
Sounds like Dragon Ball Z or something.
Yeah,
like they just got to keep bringing Goku back to life.
It's just Thanos, all huge and galactic, and he can't talk, and he hadn't worked out all the kinks, so they were able to defeat him. But a Galactus Thanos with the face and the helmet, and just ridiculous.
That's completely ridiculous.
Yeah, and then this other one, it's about this pharaoh that disappeared. They never found his remains. This is Infinity the End, which is right after Abyss. Infinity the End is about this pharaoh coming back, and he's taking over all the leaders and everything. And I'm only like 2 issues in, but Thanos is gonna get everyone to help him so they could defeat this thing. Just like Infinity War, they had to get Thanos his help to defeat Magnus, which is a duplicate of Warlock. Infinity Crusade. This is what happened. At the end of Infinity Gauntlet, the reason why we have Infinity Crusade and Infinity War is, at the end of this, Adam Warlock gets the Gauntlet.
Yeah.
And Warlock is real hesitant. He's like, this is a lot of power. Like, no one should have this much power. Mm-hmm. So he's controlling it, and somehow he ends up... he's trying not to be too good or too evil because that's too overbearing. And what happens is that his body splits. So it's Adam Warlock, and then he creates his evil counterpart, which previously existed on an alternate timeline, Magnus. And Magnus used to have...
And I read that part too. Yeah. There's a bunch of like duplicates at the beginning. Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, Infinity War is nothing but duplicates. Yeah. It's ridiculous. But Magnus was... in the early Jim Starlin Warlock stuff, and used to have an afro and everything, but now his hair is pulled back, which looks way better. Okay. And the other part is Goddess, which is so at the end of Infinity War, you get to find out that Goddess was essentially the one that kind of helped him out because they defeat Magnus, which is the evil part. Yeah. And Infinity Crusade, Goddess is essentially just that, a goddess. So what she does is that she mind controls a whole bunch of people of her choice. Okay. And is like, you guys are all going to do my bidding, and I'm going to make the universe purified and good. She stops all these wars between the Kree and the Skrull and everything. And then, bad guys are turning themselves in, all this stuff. She's eliminating evil from the world in a way that she sees fit. And so they have to get Thanos to help defeat her. And Pip and all them and war. It's the same story repeated over and over. You know what I mean? It's different characters, different positions. Not even different characters. I mean, Silver Surfer's and all this. And it's just the same thing over and over. Adam Warlock is, the leader, and then we find out that he needs to overcome something within himself, and then he does it, and he's just like, this is a lot of power. And then the next story, it's Adam Warlock getting the courage, and it's on repeat over and ridiculous. Over.
Could have reeled it in a little bit instead of doing 19 trade paperbacks or whatever this ridiculous one is.
I'm just gonna read them all.
You're gonna want to kill yourself at the end of it.
I'm halfway there, and I'm just about there. I'm just like getting to the point where, what were we reading before? Like before Watchmen, where you're just like, I'm gonna skim this. I'm starting to get to that point now. I don't even want to think about before Watchmen. Luckily, all these arcs are only 6 issues though.
Yeah.
So it's not too bad.
And that's another thing too. The 6th issue, it goes by pretty quick. I think the first issue for me is a little too slow. Mm-hmm. But then it really picks up. One thing about Adam Warlock in this book, he really serves as the the strategist. Mm-hmm. So he recruits all the superheroes. They put him in charge.
Exactly what he does. And then Infinity War.
He makes this. He makes this plan to get all the celestial beings in on this attack, and he doesn't let anyone know what his plan is.
Yeah,
he never does. He's just saying that this is what my plan is going to be. It kind of reminds me of what they make Doctor Strange loosely in Infinity War the movie. Yeah. That he kind of just
I wonder if that's how they're replacing Thanos by not Thanos, Warlock, is just using the Sorcerer Supreme instead of the Mage.
They're just gonna divvy up the parts as necessary. But it brings me to one of my favorite pages in the book, and in the trade paperback, I don't even know if it's got numbers because there's so many things. But there's the it's 106 and 7. There is this just great artwork showing all of like the celestial cosmic defenders that they're recruiting, and some of them are a little bit lame, but like Eternity was just so cool. I love the design that he's just like an outline of space with this like face, this blue face.
The Watcher's in it as well.
Yeah, Galactus.
The Living Tribunal, the cosmic judge of all realities.
Yeah. And 2 giants that can only be celestials. Yeah. They don't even name all of them. They're like, we made these 2 guys too. We're gonna add them in. I love that stuff. I think it's really cool.
The powerful and enigmatic stranger. That's just like the Phantom Stranger from DC Comics. The mysterious embodiment of love and hate. Like, come on, stop it.
Come on, cut that out.
Kronos, the Titan god of time.
The Time Titan. Not skipping ahead too much.
Before we go too far.
What's up?
If you want to backtrack to page 42.
Oh my gosh. We're way past that, Brandon.
I know. I'm so sorry. But, and you'll see this on other monitors in it. Let me see. Is it page 42? It is. On that middle panel, there's a character that appears a couple times in this book that is actually
Alf?
yeah.
Yeah, Alf's in this
Alf's
thing.
in the whole book. It's great.
Yeah. Alf's he's part of the MCU.
Yeah, it's freaking insane.
They need to do an Alf Howard the Duck combo movie. It's
Oh
like the
my
two
God.
of them.
I would love that. I would just love that.
Is Alf a Marvel character?
I think they might own the rights, but there was Alf comic books for sure.
Well, now Disney owns the rights to everything, so
Yeah,
that's so funny. Yeah, I noticed that Alf thing the first time it showed up.
I love seeing that. Yep, all published by Marvel.
Wow.
Yeah, Alf Comics. It's a lot of information. We've covered a lot in just the last.
We've
couple
already
minutes.
covered a lot, and I'm just gonna say, like, without getting too wordy, basically this all just leads up to them attacking Thanos.
Yeah.
And his like space castle. And there's a
Which
great...
is funny. He makes the space castle. Like,
Yeah, of
his
course.
home base is just like this floating little.
It looks
island
like
of
He-Man.
stuff. It does. It looks so much like He-Man.
The last pages of issue 3 are great, where you get to see all the heroes like coming in to attack Thanos, and they're all like,
And the fights are. I love seeing what Thanos did to everybody.
it's great.
It's so awesome. Cyclops putting the cube over his head and he shoots his blast.
Well, they tell you at the beginning of this thing that Thanos can stop all of them in an instant, but Mephisto convinces him because he's trying to
put
impress
on a show,
Mr.
man.
He's like, hey, if you don't use your full power, then maybe she'll be impressed. Because what's impressive about just snapping people out of existence or whatever? And then he's like, well, if I leave him a 0.05% chance of success, it's like, okay, can we stop all this hokey nonsense? It's a little too cheesy at times for me. But yeah, they start fighting, and this is where we get into the really cool, like, brutal stuff. Like what you were saying already, Cyclops tries to attack Thanos, and he puts this, like, clear box on his head, like a crystal box or something, and he essentially just, like, suffocates to death. Wolverine attacks him, and he turns Wolverine's bones into rubber.
Yeah.
And he just, like, collapses on the floor. It's so crazy.
And, honestly, maybe we'll see Nebula, some of these explosions, and with Warlock and Surfer, these panels are awesome. So awesome.
Or when Thanos just, like, obliterates Scarlet Witch, just, like, with his eye beams. It's crazy.
Well, even when Thanos fights the cosmic beings, like when he fights Order and Chaos, and his body's all different, like, digitalized.
And then for a bit, it just turns into this, like, weird they're like, we can't even describe what happened between this fight or whatever, and it's just all these colors on the page. The one thing too, that lady Terexia, the woman that Thanos makes to try and make Mistress Death jealous, on page 158 she straight up rips off Iron Man's head. There's a picture of her holding the helmet, and then I was like, oh, did she just take the helmet off? But then a few pages later, on 163, there's a picture of Iron Man on the floor, and he's got no head. She ripped off Iron Man's head. That's like something you would never see in the movie.
Ever.
It's just crazy.
I like how they turned Thanos into a bunch of Lego bricks.
Oh, yeah, that's cool.
Also, what's cool to notice is that apparently this isn't the Thor we know. There's a couple references in there.
Yeah, this Thor is like the Shazam. It's a little kid who just becomes Thor.
It is, right?
Yeah, he's a human boy. He's not an Asgardian. Oh, wow. So it's a totally different Thor. And I don't know anything about Thor. I couldn't tell you.
I couldn't tell you either.
Who and what and where, but it's not the same thing. Because there's a scene where Thor throws Mjolnir at him, and Thanos makes a portal and just, like, warps it somewhere else in space.
Yeah.
And then he turns back into the boy, like, if he doesn't have his hammer.
Looking for oxygen, try not to fall off and everything, right?
Yeah, but then Mjolnir, in a way that's totally always in the movies, it just flies all the way back through space and finds him. Yeah. Which is so cool.
Quasar is here. I don't know anything about Quasar.
Yeah, there's a lot of people who are just like, what?
I started writing down a list, and I realized that it was way too long, and I just stopped. But Mephisto, Silver Surfer, Death, and her lackeys are in there too. Adam Warlock, the real Nick Fury. I call him the real Nick Fury.
Wow.
Because he was the original one.
I guess.
Nick Fury, the one that we see.
Do you call the new Thor fake Thor?
It's the same Thor.
It's not, though. We just said that.
Yeah, but this like Thor's in the movies, it's like
movies,
fake Thor.
He's fake Thor.
He's fake Thor.
That's what I'm saying.
Yeah, he is essentially. But I mean, this is from the Ultimate. I think that's also what's cool is that they kind of mix the two universes together into one for the MCU.
Do you know the history about why Samuel Jackson is Nick Fury? Have you? I feel like you told me this, but maybe you didn't.
When what's their faces, Mark Miller were creating, Mark Miller and Brian Michael Bendis were creating the Ultimate Universe when Marvel was completely bankrupt, and they were just like, we need stories out of anywhere.
Yeah,
guys, do whatever you want, just do it. And they did the coolest stuff. The Ultimate Universe is awesome. So I've read all the Spider-Man stuff. I've done all the Ultimates. I've done pretty much everything, leading pretty much until Miles Morales came through, and it is so much fun, dude. There are some crazy storylines in there.
That's cool.
But they made them based on on Samuel Jackson
without asking him.
Yeah,
they just did it.
And there was a joke in one of the comics saying that like, oh, who would play me? And then he was just like, oh, Samuel Jackson. And then somebody else like said Brad Pitt would play like Captain America or Thor or something like that. I forgot. But they name dropped him specifically, so when they cast him, they're just like Nick Fury. I mean,
well, and it goes beyond that. Samuel Jackson found out about this because he's a nerd. You know what I mean? He found out about this and just he told his agent, hey, if they ever do a live action adaptation of Nick Fury for any reason, make sure you get my name in there. I'd like to play the role.
That's cool.
So Samuel Jackson, he just calls his shots, man. He tells George Lucas what he's going to do. He tells MCU what he's going to do.
The whole disappearing thing and all that, like Samuel Jackson, I mean, Nick Fury did do a lot of that stuff, like in the comics. But if we're going to revamp the MCU, I would like them to bring in the original Nick Fury.
Racist.
Not like as a racist part, but dude, he had the coolest like storylines. The Jim Steranko 70s stuff was just, it was a spy thriller, 100%. 100%.
This is super off base, but this is one thing I really liked about that latest X-Men movie, which was not the best one, Apocalypse, but I liked how they set it in the 80s. Like, for X-Men, that's what I feel like. X-Men should be in the 80s.
Yeah.
And I think it would be really cool if they did some more Marvel movies that were set in, like, if all of this was taking place in the 1970s, that'd be cool. Or, like, for me, if you redo Superman again, which is inevitable, set it in the 50s.
Yeah.
Like, just make the whole movie in the 50s.
That'd be cool.
And it would play way better. It would make more sense for it to be, like, a little cheesier, like Superman needs to be.
Well, you know how they could do it with Nick Fury is, like, make him like a James Bond kind of saga type of thing. You know, there was the original Nick Fury who did all this, but then Samuel Jackson was young in the 90s when Captain Marvel was around. Maybe in the 80s, that's when the other Nick Fury dropped off, and this one came into play. You know what I mean? Yeah. Like, it could be something cool like that. But I just love the eye patch and the cigar smoking. Like, it's cool. Awesome. It's super cool.
Really cool. Well, you already hinted at this, but about the celestial fight. Essentially, the superheroes are defeated easily. And then Adam Warlock already knew this.
Yes.
But his whole plan was if we get him distracted a little bit, Silver Surfer can like fly in and try and take the gauntlet.
And he missed.
He pulled
a Charlie Brown.
Yeah. He pulled Star-Lord.
Yeah.
He blew it.
Yeah.
And then there's the celestial battle. And during that, or afterwards, I should say, Mephisto tries to take the gauntlet off his hand. Yeah. And he's like, nah, man.
Yeah. Dude.
No way.
Dude. Yeah.
This is a terrible idea. And I mean, more or less what kind of happens after this is like Thanos is trying to overcome eternity. He's trying to become eternity, but while he becomes eternity, his body is left limp. And Nebula, who just seemed like the zombie the whole time,
he's just like, meh.
She seizes the opportunity and takes the gauntlet.
Yeah. I think we could see that in the upcoming film.
I think so too.
I think they could. I think that's a powerful nod to the comic that they'll probably end up doing.
Yeah, I hope so. I think Nebula would be the right one to do it too, given the story of what's going on.
Yeah, wants so much revenge.
Well, because I want to ask you something about this right now, but I don't know if they're going to like... I feel like at the end of Infinity War, though, they're not going to do what they did in Gauntlet and pass it off to someone else. They're going to split it up. And I know in the Infinity storyline, they eventually do split the stones up. They give one of them back to Thanos, which is really stupid. I guess you haven't gotten that far yet. I watched this video where they're summing it up, but essentially, after the Infinity Gauntlet keeps getting passed around, they eventually like have the wherewithal to be like, well, we probably shouldn't give it to one person. This is too much power.
Oh yeah, that they split it up in the Infinity Watch.
Yeah, they split it up, but they give one of the stones back to Thanos.
Well,
and it's like one of these things again where it's like, why are you even giving him this opportunity?
The whole thing with that too is that, you know, Thanos is good and he's evil, he's good and he's evil, and he's good for a good chunk of the time. And then I'm reading the storyline Infinity and he's trying to invade Earth and he's all evil and he has the Black Order, and I'm like, when did he like change his mind again? Like he's just all over the place and it's hard to follow. Like I mean, there's take Darkseid for example. We always
Okay.
know that Darkseid is evil. Darkseid is, and he's just
Yeah.
Darkseid is.
We do know that Darkseid
and
is.
he'll do a thing of goodness only in desperate times, being like, you know what?
Do a thing of goodness. That's a great sentence.
I know, yeah. It was. I mean,
no, but I see what you're saying. An
there's,
act
like-
of goodness.
there you go. Yeah, like I'm trying to think of an example. It's like in the current run, Justice League Odyssey. That's out right now. He's working with like Azrael and Starfire and Cyborg to like kind of stop the fourth wall from whatever's coming out of the fourth wall and this like big god that controls the universe at one point. So he does it like once or twice, but like Thanos, he just has no side, and that's what's really annoying about him. It's like, dude, just be the villain or else I'm not gonna take you seriously. So like reading other stuff, it's like, yeah, I can see how Thanos could be a big bad, but it's like he was a big bad in the beginning and then he's been pretty solid since then, you know what I mean? Like,
that's true. Like how bad is he really?
yeah, like
Which is a thing too, and I think the movie's kind of done it. But Thanos does have some kind of code,
yeah,
and it comes into play a little bit more. And what I think is a really interesting story part, when Adam Warlock is talking to Thanos. This is after Nebula takes the Gauntlet. So Nebula takes it, and Thanos instantly joins Warlock and Silver Surfer and Doctor Strange because they're like the only ones who are left.
yeah,
And they kind of explain like real quick, like Nebula doesn't have the mental fortitude that Thanos has. And she's not going to be able to handle this. It's going to drive her insane. And then we're going to be in really big trouble. But while they're getting it back, like Warlock convinces Thanos that he should have never had it.
yeah,
He's like, you've had it before. You're only losing it because you don't deserve it. And you know you don't deserve
yeah.
it.
And he's
just like,
"You're right."
oh, bro, you got me.
Yeah,
Which, if only he was there to help him out with Mistress Death. Like,
Right?
if only
It's
Adam
like-
Warlock was like, bro, look, she's not that interested, but you're a giant purple guy. You're
Warlock
like 7
is
foot
the
something.
friend that Thanos needed.
He needed him, man. He needed a bro. Well, they essentially they try and fight her now, and you're talking about how much the story repeats itself throughout all these books, but even in this one book, it
Does it
just
twice.
repeats itself. It does it
Yes.
twice. And she is the one who puts a Silver Surfer and Warlock into the Soul Gem. And basically, they bust out of the Soul Gem, and it causes the Gauntlet to fall off. Thanos tries to get it, but the rest of the Avengers show up.
Yeah.
And they're like,
Snapping
no,
hands.
no,
Yeah,
no,
exactly.
stop it.
Yeah.
And then Adam Warlock gets it, and he says, "Let the conflict end." And then which is ironic because it goes on for 10 more books. But that's pretty much it. They like banish Thanos to some planet, which looks a lot
They
like.
don't banish him. He goes there.
Oh, did they
chooses-
just put him there?
yeah.
Oh, I thought they like sent him there.
That's where he wanted to go. He wanted peace. And
Well-
that's how the movie ends too, which is super cool.
And that's what I was saying. Yeah, that's one of the set pieces that looks very similar.
And that's how Infinity War starts, is that we're looking up at Thanos like on his little farm thing, you know? And I thought that was cool.
Yeah, that is really interesting.
Yeah.
I think that part works really well.
I think that's how Endgame's going to start, with Thanos on his farm.
Ooh,
His
that would
first
be
scene
good.
with him, for sure.
Well, the things I wanted to ask you, like, because we know some of this stuff's not going to happen for sure.
Wait, before we get into
Oh,
that,
yeah, I'm sorry.
I have one question.
Oh, yeah.
And I've seen it in Infinity Gauntlet and War. Is Vision colored in your copies?
No, Vision's
not
just
colored.
white.
Yeah, he's just white.
Yeah, and I love the Vision design in the movie. I think it's way cool.
Yeah, way cooler. All right, I
Yeah.
was like, is there a wrong something?
Oh, okay,
I
like a
haven't gone through
misprint or something?
these original prints, but
I'll color
why
them in
isn't-
for you.
Why isn't like Vision right?
Let me get
Why
my
isn't
markers
Vision
out.
colored in
Not even a color pencil, a marker.
through all the
Just
pages?
like bleed through the whole thing.
I've never even opened these. I got them once, and I was just like, I'm not gonna touch them.
I wouldn't touch them either. They
Yeah.
look really good, man.
Yeah, they're really good.
I love the Come and Get Me one.
Yeah.
Issue 4. And that's the great issue, dude. 4 is
That
my
one
favorite
and,
issue.
5 having all
Yeah.
the Celestials, and then 3
Yeah.
with the whole team attacking them. That's cool.
Yeah, the covers are great.
Covers are awesome.
The covers are good. Well, what I was going to ask you is, in game, it's already getting reviews. People are already watching it. Obviously, we have to wait because we're plebs.
Yeah.
But after reading Infinity Gauntlet and all this other nonsense, what's your in-game wish list? Like, what do you want to happen in this movie? Realistic or not realistic? And you can say, whether or not you think it'll really happen. But what would you want to happen in in-game?
What I want? Oh, there's
Yeah.
so much I would want to
Yeah,
happen.
like what would be
but
your
none
perfect
of it.
in-game?
Dude, I've just always wanted Warlock in the films, and that's
Okay.
like the thing. I wanted Warlock, and I feel like we kept on almost getting him, but like
Well,
he's so pivotal.
And we talked about it a little bit right before the podcast, but he is in the MCU. He's in a post-credit scene.
He's in the cocoon,
He's
which
in the
is like
cocoon,
it's
which
cool.
is shown in
his
this book,
origins
too.
being changed, which makes sense.
Yeah.
This is why his origin changed. But I mean, I don't know.
I feel like he might show up. I don't know. It just seems.
I don't think so.
I don't know why Guardians would do that, and that's so un-Marvel. Like,
So,
Marvel shows you something in the post-credit scenes, and then you know it's going to show up again.
Yeah.
They don't usually like, hey, what about this, and then
But
just
dude,
drop
that
it.
would be so under wraps. Like,
Oh, it'd have to be completely under wraps. We would have to know nothing about it. But also, Marvel's been super sneaky lately, especially
But
with the trailers, like
Warlock's-
for Infinity War.
I
like,
heard that all of it just might be fake too. Or they had an interview with the Russo brothers, and they were just like, "Well, some of it might be real. It could all be fake. It could all be fake footage."
Wow.
And you're just like, "Oh, you sneaky."
I mean, I love that. I think that's how all trailers should be. I hate seeing the best parts in the trailer.
Well, I mean, dude, I know you're gonna love this, but like when I watched Batman versus Superman,
Yeah.
I was literally checking off like, oh, trailer moment, trailer moment, trailer moment, and then you watch the trailer like, oh, we just basically saw the whole film and we could guess what happened at the end, you know, like that's what's great. That's what's great. I love that, you know, and I love trailers that have footage that you don't see in the film because you're not spoiling too much of the film.
Yeah.
You know, it's a trailer. It's supposed to get us hyped, you know. It's like when a band releases something, sometimes they'll put out a single and that single isn't on the album.
Oh yeah,
You know what I mean?
yeah,
It's
that
like,
is cool.
oh, they're just giving us more juice, you know.
But
what I
it's
mean?
really
Like,
bad when the single's the best song on the album. That's the
yeah,
worst.
that's the worst. Yeah,
and that's how what
the
trailers
worst,
are
yeah.
now.
And that's how yeah, a good chunk of movies are
Yeah.
now, especially
Horror
the
movies.
Snyder
Yeah,
horror movies for
I
sure.
hate when that happens.
You know, something that is cool is that we do see the Hulk that talks with, you know, he's fused
Yeah.
with Bruce Banner, and he's stuck like that for a while. But I mean, if we're going into a phase where we're not even hearing about these other films being made,
Yeah.
and I think it's going to be a universe reset. I really think that it's going to be a complete reset. We're going to get the Eternals next. We're getting
Okay.
some Spider-Man. Spider-Man's always going to be around, but
Well,
I think
Guardians got to be around too.
Guardians are going to be around as well. But I think
Yeah.
there's going to be a universe reset, and we're not going to see these they're going to be kind of either erased or they're going to fall or just not be around anymore. But I don't think it's going to be. I think the timeline's just going to change.
Interesting. That would be kind of cool. I see for Phase 4 of the Marvel Cinematic Universe.
Oh, and also like we just
Yeah.
discussed, Phase 3 is not ending until after Homecoming.
Yeah.
Homecoming is the Infinity War aftermath. Yeah, the aftermath of everything.
Mm-hmm.
So it's that's going to be interesting to be like, oh, well, this is just kind of an optional film almost, if you want to say.
I originally thought Captain America was dead for sure. Like when I saw Infinity War, I was like, that guy's dead. Now, especially after listening to like how the actors are talking about it, I think Iron Man might be gone too. I think both of them are
I think
out.
they're done. Yeah.
So I could see in Far From Home a lot of stuff about Spider-Man kind of dealing with Iron Man dying or something and being like very reflective. I could see a lot of that.
I mean, it would be cool. I don't think it happened, but Iron Man did join the Guardians of the Galaxy at one point.
That
in
would
the
be
comics,
pretty cool.
and especially in the Annihilation Conquest.
Well, I'm also excited because isn't Venom in Guardians of the Galaxy for a while too?
Space Knight. yeah.
That would be
something
really
like that,
cool.
yeah.
Especially with the Spider-Man thing like kind of going off.
And that Venom, I'm gonna say it wasn't Eddie Brock. It was the guy that, remember in the Spider-Man movie of Tobey Maguire, the guy that punched him in high school.
Flash Thompson.
Flash Thompson, yeah. Apparently he joins the military, gets his legs blown off, encounters a symbiote, and that's the symbiote. That's his legs, and that's how he becomes Venom Space Knight because he goes into space for whatever reason. I don't know,
That's cool.
but that's cool. If they did that, I'm down for that. Like,
Well,
yeah.
I think Phase 4 is going to be... They're going to have to finish Guardians because of that whole debacle of firing and hiring again. So that had to be pushed back. I'm sure it would have been already, like maybe around Spider-Man.
Yeah.
They have to keep Spider-Man. I think they have to keep Black Panther
Oh yeah,
because it was just too popular.
too great. Yeah, Black Panther 2s, I think.
I think we're going to get more Captain Marvel unless
Oh, we are.
it was way too popular for there not to be.
No, it's too new.
And
yeah.
it's new.
Yeah.
I think we're going to get hardcore X-Men. Like, we're going to get X-Men redone, and hopefully with Spider-Man showing
Which,
up.
like, thank God, dude.
Yeah.
Like,
I'm excited. Well, I'm just excited that they're in it. Like, I liked a majority of the X-Men movies. There's one in each of the little trilogies that's bad.
I think there's like one good one out
Oh,
of
you're
each.
crazy. So the first trilogy, 1, 2, and 3.
Yeah.
1 and 2 are great. 3, Last Stand
2
is
is
awful.
alright.
2 is way better than 1.
I'm trying to think of 2. X2.
You're crazy, man. That's the one with with Nightcrawler. The opening scenes in the White House with Nightcrawler trying to kill the
that
president.
one was good. Okay, 1 and 2.
So 1 and 2 are good. 3 is trash. Then you have the Logan trilogy. X-Men Origins Wolverine is pretty bad, especially because they ruined Deadpool in that movie.
That was hilarious.
Wolverine is okay.
I kind of like Wolverine.
I like that it's in Japan because it really changes
yeah,
up.
I really liked it. Honestly.
Logan's beautiful. Logan's a masterpiece.
Yes.
And then you have the
Logan
new...
or The Dark Knight?
Logan. And I even said it after I saw Logan.
And I agree with you 100%.
Yeah, I was like, this is the best comic book movie I've ever seen.
It is so good, dude.
It's
I
so
saw that
good.
like 4 times, and every time I'm like,
talk about another adaptation that just takes the premise and then just goes somewhere else with it.
Yeah. Have
Just
you
like
read
in
Old Man
Infinity
Logan?
Gauntlet. I've read Old Man Logan, like the first
so
one.
good,
It's
dude.
really good.
And it's Mark Miller. Mark Miller's the one that did the Ultimate Universe.
Yeah.
Gosh, we should just do an episode on Logan and Old Man Logan.
Let's do it. I'm so down for that.
Awesome.
Well, then to wrap this up, the new trilogy, First Class is cool.
Yeah.
Days of Future Past is cool.
Oh, damn, you're right. All right, cool. So
That
there's
one's good.
two out of
You know
three.
what I mean?
Yeah, you're right.
Apocalypse.
Okay, Apocalypse would have never happened if that girl, in Egypt, she goes down the hole.
Yeah.
If she would have just closed the door behind her, because she left the door open and the sunlight went through there. She didn't close the door. That's what got me so mad. There was no reason all that had to happen if she would have just closed the door.
And for me, Apocalypse is kind of like a Thanos, where I'm not that interested. Thanos is way more interesting than Apocalypse to me.
And
he's just kind of like, I'm supreme, and that's it.
What they're doing really bad in the movies regarding we're getting off topic, but this is Marvel
but
stuff. We never talk about Marvel. So let's get some Marvel talk in now, because we're going back to DC after this because of Swamp Thing. I'm sorry.
That's true.
But as X-Men, there's so many timelines and so many stories, and what they're doing so right, they're also doing so wrong with the X-Men movies, because all these like different films are taking a different part of the X-Men storylines and timelines and everything, but they're trying to make it still continuous. Like Age of Apocalypse, dude, Wolverine had like a claw and he was dating not Mary Jane, Jean Grey.
Whoa.
Yeah, whoa.
Wolverine, watch out, man.
Going for those 19-year-olds.
Yeah.
And Cyclops, like, I think he only had one. He had one eye and super long hair. It was
that's
super
cool.
Yeah. But it was an alternate timeline. And like Days of Future Past, same thing. And I get how they're doing it, but it's like you guys are trying to mix the old with the new, and it's just not clicking right at that point.
You can tell that it wasn't planned out in advance.
It wasn't.
It was like they just kind of had to keep like, how are we going to tie this in?
Like if the old timeline's a new one, then like, where's Jean Grey? What happened to Dark Phoenix previously?
Well, that too. It seems like this whole thing's going out with a whimper. Like Dark Phoenix, it seems like they've already given up on it.
Yeah.
Like we didn't hear anything about it forever. Now we're getting a couple trailers, and it's out like in a month or two.
And then that's like with New Mutants. New Mutants was really getting hyped up, and then they pushed it back like 2 years.
And apparently, it's still gonna come out. But
and they're
knows,
just like
dude?
they interviewed the girl that plays Arya in Game of Thrones, and they're like, "So when's New Mutants gonna come out?" And she's like, I don't know.
And
like,
she's in. I forgot that she's in New Mutants, which is funny because Sansa's Jean Grey now.
Yeah, and also the dude from Stranger Things, the older brother, that listens to The Clash.
Oh yeah,
he's in New Mutants as well.
Whoa, I like that actor.
Yeah, he's cool.
That's cool.
But I mean, that was off the success of like Stranger Things, and that's when that film and Game of Thrones, when everyone was realizing who these people were,
that's hilarious.
And they were making this film, and it just hasn't come out.
We're gonna see that movie in 2 years. They're gonna be all like young and everything.
Yeah, no, seriously.
It's like they filmed it a long time ago, and then it got hung up.
Yeah, and that's the one I was excited for out of everything, because it was gonna be a horror film.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And the little, what was it, a teaser or something, wasn't it? It was cool.
Cool.
It looked really cool.
Legion, dude.
Oh, I haven't watched Legion. That's like the only thing of this X-Men stuff I haven't watched.
It is the greatest.
I heard, yeah.
It is phenomenal. Okay. It is Twin Peaks, but like more on the psychedelic side, and it makes sense. You could comprehend it.
Okay,
you know what I mean?
Peaks is almost too much.
Yeah.
Like, oh my god.
You could comprehend everything. And dude, the first episode hooked me. I watched 15 minutes of it, and I was like, I can't let this go. I've seen that first episode at least 3 or 4 times. Whoa. It is that good.
I'm down. I'll definitely watch it. I've been waiting, and
I've been wanting to read some New Mutants. So if this ever comes out, we'll watch Legion and read New Mutants, and we'll talk about it. Yeah.
Well, to make the long train back to where this all started, that's what I think is going to happen in Marvel Phase 4. I think some of them are going to come back, the newer heroes.
We're getting the Eternals, which is cool.
Oh, that's true.
And actually, the Eternals was created by Jack Kirby. There's the original 70s series, but also Neil Gaiman and John Romita Jr. Did a series in the early 2000s. I have the trade for that. And Neil Gaiman, for those of you who don't know, wrote Sandman, did Coraline, all this cool stuff. And I mean, that's the only superhero tattoo I have is a Sandman tattoo. Like, I love that series. But just the fact that they're going to pull from some Kirby and Neil Gaiman work, I think that'll be good. And Angelina Jolie's in talks of being in a role too.
That's weird.
Yeah.
It's going to be interesting to see if they can go even deeper into the space stuff and if people will like hold on to it. You know what I mean?
Well, dude, there's potential for Annihilation and Annihilation Conquest. That one, that's where they redid Drax. That's where they mixed in Silver Surfer. And that's how they can introduce the stuff to the MCU. Because all these Annihilation stuff, from what I've seen so far, I haven't read the whole series, but it introduces you to Drax, introduces you to a good solid Silver Surfer, Marvel, Galactus, Thanos. They're all in it, and then they fight Annihilus, who is actually speculation for the villain in Endgame. Annihilus was a Fantastic Four villain, and
wait, so they think there's going to be another villain in Endgame, or what? I don't see that happening.
I don't know. I couldn't see Annihilus because they just like. I don't know.
Well, I don't see how they're going to bring anyone else in just because it's so focused. It would be bad to bring in another.
What do you think Endgame's going to be about?
Okay, well, yeah, this is what my dream Endgame is going to be.
And we should follow up with this.
Yeah, we should really make sure we do it. Well, we're doing a CLE on Avengers, and while we're doing that, we should do like a short video, maybe talk about it a little bit more. But at the end of Ant-Man 2, Ant-Man's lost in the quantum realm.
Have you seen it?
Yeah.
Should I watch it before Endgame?
Well, I just kind of ruined it.
I mean, I'll still watch it. Like,
I think it's a good watch, especially if you like the first Ant-Man. Yeah. It's the same kind of humor. Do you mind if I just talk?
Spoil it. Okay, I think I already kind of know. Spoiler
alerts for Ant-Man and the Wasp. But the after credit scene is like they're going into the quantum realm, and then Wasp, her dad, who's the original Ant-Man,
Hank Pym,
and her mom, they're the three of them are watching him, right? And then he's in there, he's talking to him over a little speaker, and then you cut back. And they're all gone. Like when Thanos snapped, the three of them disappeared.
Okay, cool.
But he's the only one there. Like he's in the quantum realm and no one's around to get him out of it.
Oh, wow.
So I think they're going to get Ant-Man out somehow.
Yeah.
They're going to use that knowledge of the quantum realm to fight Thanos because I'm going to guess like at that size of being so small, they're not going to see it coming, which is the same idea in here. They need to catch Thanos without him seeing it coming. I think the other heroes are going to try and bust out. I think Captain Marvel's going to kind of be the essential Adam Warlock of this movie, where she shows up.
She's going to like be the leader and everything.
Yeah, she's going to be the leader of this little task force and everything.
And she's just called Marvel.
Yeah, she's Marvel. Sorry, Marvel.
They mentioned Marvel.
They mentioned Marvel in Captain Marvel.
I hope we see more of that, because that was the cool stuff.
Yeah, that would be kind of cool. But I'm hoping, and this is the wish that I know won't come true, I would love if they have to get like Galactus involved in it.
Yes.
I don't think they're going to use all of these eternal beings.
Yeah.
But if there was one they would use, because he's noticeable. So I would love to see like Galactus try and take on Thanos.
But I want real Galactus.
Me too.
I don't want Rise of Silver Surfer Galactus.
I never saw Rise of Silver Surfer, so I don't even know what it looks like. But I heard about that.
He was just a big puff of smoke getting blown into Earth.
No, I need that. I need that Galactus showing up.
I want the helmet, dude. I don't care how goofy that looks. I want the armor. Great. Yeah.
But that would be my dream come true.
Yeah.
Oh
yeah.
But I think
it's too soon though. They just got the rights. There's no way they got that done.
Yeah, I don't think so. I think that the superheroes inside the Soul Gem, because that's my prediction, they're going to bust out in a very similar way to this book, and it's going to create the opportunity to defeat him. And just bonus prediction, I think Deadpool's going to show up. Maybe in a post-credit scene, I think he'll be referenced at least or shown.
I could see that in a post-credit scene, because at that time they could just go and shoot that like after a deal was made. They could do that in 2 hours. You know what I mean? And Ryan Reynolds will be like, "Yeah, I'll drop everything to go do that."
Well, another interesting thing too, Disney already said that's the character they're not going to recast.
Yep, exactly.
Yeah, they're just going to take it because it's been so popular.
Yeah,
everyone loves those movies.
And he's put so much into it. I think he made a strong deal whenever they did present it.
Well, he's the reason it's around. Yeah.
Yeah. What else, man?
Want to see?
And so, like, I just want Warlock.
I think it'd be cool. I think there's a chance, because in this book we see him as a cocoon. Yeah. And that's what we see in Guardians of the Galaxy 2.
We've seen a reference in it in the Collector's in First Guardians.
Yeah.
It was essentially his cocoon, and then now this one. But I don't I don't know, man.
Maybe it's just a nod. You know what I mean? Maybe it's just like a, hey, guys, you diehard fans, look who that is. And then they never do anything. But it's hard to tell, dude. I'm super pumped. Like, I'm excited to watch it. I think it's going to be great.
I think for sure it's going to be a universe reset.
It's not going to be a universe reset. I 100% disagree.
Really?
I think some people are going to die. I think some characters might be, like, elevated. Like, I wouldn't be surprised if Bucky became Captain America.
I see. Oh, man, that run by Ed Brubaker is so awesome.
I don't even know that. Cool. I think, like, Iron Man is going to die. The character will die. So maybe they'll make room for that Iron Heart thing that they've been doing. I've never read any of that.
Did you hear the controversy about Ironheart?
What?
Like, when they chose that name?
Oh, people were upset, too.
Yeah, people were so upset.
Yeah.
Do you know why?
Why? No, I don't know that part.
There was 2 big controversies about Ironheart. One, J. Scott Campbell, who's a very popular artist. He's done everything. Have you heard of Gen 13?
Yeah.
You think of that artwork?
Yeah.
You know how it's always like Babelicious? Like all of his artwork is very like that. And they thought that the cover, Ironheart, she's like a 13, 14-year-old girl. They thought the cover he made for her was like too provocative for that age.
That's creepy.
Yeah, and it's weird. His I don't know, disrespect to the guy, like, you know, good job for him. But his wife looks exactly like every single drawing he's ever drawn. Like, it's like he found his drawing in real life. Yeah, she has that face and that, like, she has that baby face and everything. You know what I mean? Like, it's
weird. Okay. Weird.
But that was a controversy. And also, Ironheart, I believe, was like an Asian porn or something like that. Yeah, and they already had a trademark for the name, and Marvel had to fight them to get the name for it.
Weird.
I'm like pretty positive. There's probably more details than that like you could Google instantly. You know, check it on Bleeding Cool. Mm-hmm. But yeah, that was Ironheart. So I don't know if they use the name, but you know, but she's still around, Ari or whatever her name
I could see them being like recast or something. I don't know. It's going to be interesting to see how they handle it.
But I see a universe reset because if we're going to introduce, you know, Eternals, Celestials, X-Men, what else do they own? Silver Surfer and all that type of stuff. I feel like that's how they're going to reset the universe, and all of a sudden these beings exist, or it's merged with like a multiverse type. I
think they're just all going to be part of one universe, and they're going to be like Captain America's dead
because Secret Wars, the last one, it was just like it. From what I understand, it was what Crisis on Infinite Earths was for DC. It merged the multiverse into one world.
Okay.
And so that's what we might get at the end of this.
That could be cool.
Yeah. And they have the power.
Yeah.
They have the Gauntlet. You know what I mean?
That's true. They could do anything.
Yeah.
There could be your universe reset right there.
Exactly.
Just the power of the Gauntlet. Well, I mean, are you down to wrap this thing up, or you want to go to pull list? Is there anything else you want to toss in here on our Infinity Talk, our Infinity Watch?
So, I mean, Infinity Watch is super cool. I would read that. It's just so much, dude. It's so
overwhelming.
It is.
It's too much to think
Marvel
about.
has abused the word Infinity and Secret Wars more than DC has Crisis. Like,
I guess that's true.
Yeah, I tried counting them, and I think it outnumbers at like 13 to like 7.
Wow.
Yeah,
it's pretty impressive.
Yeah, or 8 or something like that. Yeah. DC. I thought like the one might go. There's Crisis on Infinite Earth. There's Zero Crisis, Crisis and Infinite Crisis. There's Heroes in Crisis. There's Final Crisis. There's Identity Crisis.
Part 2. Final Crisis Part 3, the final chapter.
Yeah, yeah, exactly. That's like if they did that. It's just I thought that was overload, but just learning about the Infinity stuff, you know what I mean? It's so much.
And so much of it seems unnecessary.
It
like
really
so
is.
much of it just seems so like retreading.
You know, mad respect to Jim Starlin. Oh, before we wrap this up, so. You know, we named all the things that kind of come in order. After Infinity, there was like Annihilation Conquest. There was and then we got to the whatever Infinity Revelations and Relatively, and then Entity, and then Finale.
Okay. Yeah.
And so Jim Starlin was working on like essentially the final chapter for Thanos. He wanted to give the final Thanos story, and he'd been plotting it out. He was talking to Marvel about this and everything, and then as the book started getting progressed on, they spoke to him about something about another Thanos book coming out, or another character. I'm not even sure if it was Thanos, but it was so close to his plot. Jim Starlin was like, guys, what the heck, like, this is the story I'm writing, why are you guys gonna put this out so it could tie in with the movies and the success right now?
Okay.
And they were just like, well, I mean,
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And Donnie Cates is awesome. First off, super nice guy too. I've met him a handful of times. So cool. He lives in Austin, Texas. Such a cool guy. He was here for El Paso Comic Con recently
cool.
too. Gem Mint, Minnie, those guys got to interview him at Dead Beach.
Oh,
Super
okay.
cool. Yeah. But Donnie Cates' Thanos run was like apparently phenomenal. And he's running Guardians of the Galaxy now, which looks awesome. But he did this whole thing with Thanos. He invented the Cosmic Ghost Rider and all this cool stuff. But apparently that was so similar to Jim Starlin's run. Jim Starlin was just like, if you guys don't dump that, I'm going to quit and I'm not coming back.
Wow.
And they didn't dump it. So Jim Starlin cut all ties with Marvel. And total just falling out with the company that he'd been with since the 90s, the 80s at that point, dude. Like, they just totally screwed over Jim Starlin super bad.
Wow.
And I mean, I can't, it's upsetting, but also Donnie Cates' stuff was like apparently awesome. I really want to read it. I really want to read that and his Venom and his Guardians. And, but just crazy. Like, after all the stuff he's given us and all the stories we've just named, Marvel just dupes him like that.
Well, I mean, he made an ultimatum with a multi-billion-dollar company.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, of course they're going to be like, no, dude.
No, we'll get Youngblood.
Yeah.
Yeah, because it seems to be doing well.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And now Donnie Cates is ruling. We should catch up on his work someday. Do an artist spotlight for sure.
That'd be cool.
He doesn't have, like, none of those series are too long, so we could probably
Yeah.
do an episode on all, like, Venom, Guardians, and
That'd be cool. I'd be down to read some
Thanos.
Venom.
Yeah.
That'd be really cool.
Yeah, me too. I'd be really excited for that. But, that's it.
Cool.
We'll catch up.
I mean,
as on our
obviously,
next
there's so much
Infinity
more.
episode. Yeah.
All I'm going to say is if you really want to, I think Gauntlet's a pretty good read. It's pretty short. And I think you'll see some cool stuff that kind of mirrors. And
You know, what's cool about stories like these is that one of the first comics I ever read was Crisis on Infinite Earths. And you see every DC character, like I said.
Yeah.
And it gave me so much knowledge and so much curiosity about some other characters. This is a great book just for that. Like, discover more stuff with Mephisto. Like, he had ties in with Spider-Man really great. Silver Surfer, Doctor Strange. You see everyone. You see the full Marvel cast, and that's what's so cool, is that you see the whole universe. Well worth it.
yeah, I think so as well. Read it. Okay, do you have a pull list for us? What do you got?
Oof.
Nothing. You just read a bunch of Infinity, right?
I'm also reading...
What else you read?
I'm reading Akira Volume 1.
That's right.
It's a lot of fun. I'm
Yeah.
digging the hell out of it, dude. I
That's
really
cool.
like it. I'm like only 100 pages in, but I've been jumping on that. What else was I reading right before? Because I wouldn't put it down. I don't even remember. I've read so much lately. I think I'm just fried from like 3
That'll
days
happen.
of Infinity.
Yeah,
I
mean,
feel
that
like
would
I've been
fry
ready
anyone's
for
brain.
Infinity.
Well, I got two things. The first one is Gone by
Gon.
Masashi Tanaka. Gon is a pretty famous character in Japan. He's a cute little dinosaur. He was featured in one of the Tekken games.
Yeah, I
He's
remember
like a
that.
pop
That's how I
culture
know him.
character.
Yeah.
He's giant in that game, though, isn't he? Isn't he like a pretty
Really?
big
I
character?
thought he was
or is he
tiny.
He might be tiny still.
Tiny. And like Tekken 3 or something on
Something
PlayStation.
like that.
Yeah.
3 or 4 or something. It's one of the... Well, now there's a ton of Tekken games. What I like about Gone is that there's literally no words. This is volume 1, and the entire story is told just through pictures.
Wow, that's
but
cool.
The art style is just like incredibly detailed. There's also no color. It's all just like penciling and shading and everything. But some of the stuff you get, I'm just trying to find like one page that I think is... It's almost like every single page is just something like... so detailed and like full of life, and basically Gon is like a mini Godzilla. He's just a mischievous dinosaur who finds himself in these scenarios, but he's got a good heart, so he'll help out the little guy.
That's cool.
Because he is the little guy. That's all the character is, and there's like 6 or 7 volumes of Gon. There's a lot.
Are they all just...
No words.
That's cool. That's great artistry.
It's just nothing but
if you can
telling
tell
a
a story
through
that well, it's awesome.
Yeah, so I think that's cool because it takes comic books in another direction that you don't see all the time. There's that famous G.I. Joe issue that's completely silent with what's his name?
There's a Nick Fury episode Nick Fury issue like that too.
Oh, really?
Jim Steranko did, yeah.
That's really cool.
And he had a bunch of backlash on it. They're saying that they're only going to pay you for half of it because you're not telling the full story. And he's just like, read this and tell me that's not a story. And they're just like, all right, man, you're right. Yeah.
That's lame. That's them trying to save a penny.
Yeah.
Then I already talked about Spider-Man Life Story before. I have to bring this up just because there's something hilarious that happened when I was reading it. Basically, you kind of get
Who's the writer for that?
Zdarsky.
Oh, Chip Zdarsky. Yeah, he's awesome. Okay, cool.
You get an idea of how this is all going to go. Because in the 60s, they left a bunch of plot holes, or not holes, but they left a bunch of plot to be filled. Then we jump ahead in time, and we just see a bunch of cause and effect stuff.
Oh, cool.
So choices Spider-Man made in the 60s, now he's having to deal with it in the 70s.
Oh.
So it's interesting how the story's being told. The part that's hilarious is in the 60s one, Norman Osborn gets put away into an asylum because of Peter Parker. And there was some episode, I don't know what it was. It was, you were in the room, but you weren't on the episode, I don't think. You were just like sitting over there. And it was like we did a podcast episode. And I was talking about Harry Osborn when he became Green Goblin. And you were like, Harry Osborn's not Green Goblin. And then we like looked it up. Hobgoblin,
yeah,
sorry.
Yeah, I remember that. Yeah.
Oh, is that what it was? See, I'm remembering this wrong.
Oh, yeah, he becomes Green Goblin.
He becomes Green Goblin.
Yeah.
Okay, well, spoiler alert. He becomes Green Goblin in this story, too.
Oh, okay, cool.
But when I read it, I was like, oh my gosh, we just had a whole conversation
we were talking
about that.
Hobgoblin.
Oh, I'm getting my goblins all mixed up. See, I did the same thing twice. But,
I had that issue.
Oh, really?
I think I do. I want to say I have
funny.
the issue. I gotta check that out.
You should
I have a giant Spider-Man box, dude. I
Really?
have all the McFarlane stuff.
Wow.
I have some old stuff. I have Spider-Man 100 signed by Stan Lee and John Romita Sr. And I have like the first appearance of the Punisher, which is like signed by Stan Lee,
Yeah.
John Romita Sr. and Jerry Conway. Like, yeah, I have a cool Spider-Man collection. Actually.
Oh, that's cool.
Yeah.
Dude, we should do some more Spider-Man. But
Well,
this
movie's coming out.
This is good. Spider-Man Life Story is good.
Nice.
I'm still loving it, so I can't wait to read the rest of this thing. Well, that's pretty much it, everybody. I'm sure that before the next issue of Doomsday Clock comes out, we'll put out another 7 or 8 podcasts.
That has been pushed back to June or late May or something. Umbrella Academy issue 7 of Hotel Oblivion isn't coming out till June 10th.
I also got to say, man, I read issue 6, and I'm just so disinterested
I
in
didn't
Hotel
even read
Oblivion.
issue 6. I didn't read it at all. I want to wait to reread everything because I remember how 5 ended.
Yeah, I mean, I probably should reread the whole thing when it comes out, but I don't know. Well, we can talk more about Umbrella Academy another time, but
So we're gonna follow up with an Infinity video, most likely.
yeah, we got to do some kind of conversation about it. Definitely a character limit exceeded is coming your way.
Oh, real fast. I have not seen Hellboy.
I heard it was terrible.
I heard it was terrible, but I want to check it out. I will see it. I will let you know what I think when I see it. Good or bad, whatever.
Okay.
Shazam, loads of fun.
Yeah, that's what I
Loads
heard.
of fun.
It's like
And
really funny and just a good time.
It's a 14-year-old turning into an adult superhero. Like, how would you act? It's how I would act now, probably, if I got superpowers with like my best friend or something.
That's
You know what I
hilarious.
mean? Like,
Yeah.
it's just good, wholesome fun. And then spoiler alert, there is a Superman cameo.
I heard about that.
And it's hilarious.
And I heard they gave him a digital mustache. They added a mustache.
They put it on there.
They put it on him, yeah.
I loved the Superman ending.
Really?
But I thought Shazam was good. It was solid for the inspiration they pulled it from, and from the current run they're pulling it from. It's a childish, family-filled type of like. It's just a good movie. It's just solid. There's some plot holes that are just like, that's not the best move they could have made.
Yeah.
But either way, it's fun and it's cool. It kept me entertained. And that's what you want to be. This movie's just for your entertainment. And then Adrian Brody at the end, awesome. I was a OC fan, so just like cool seeing Adrian Brody. I know, me and my friend.
Things you'll admit
Sam.
online.
Yeah, right. And so just cool seeing him. I was just like, what?
That's cool.
And you know, I want you to see Shazam.
I'll get around to it.
See it so we could read Miracle Man and be like, compare them. That's what I want to do. Because Shazam was the inspiration for Miracle Man. And it was a spin-off of that. And I just want to talk about the differences because it's so cool what the differences are.
Okay.
Yeah.
I'll check it out. I'll check it out sooner rather than later.
Yeah. I have a free movie pass. We'll go watch it one day.
Okay, there we go.
And man, what else? That's it. So much. Check out David Franken Beans on YouTube. We have loads of content. Character Limit Exceeded.
Yeah.
We did a podcast. Other stuff besides superheroes that we talk about.
Yeah.
We have video games, everything. And check out the Apollo City Comics Instagram. We're uploading more stuff. I'm uploading my collection on there now. I'm kind of telling the story and kind of telling what my books are and everything. I found out I have a lot of stuff I could talk about. So I'm going to do short little videos. Just check up on the Instagram. Subscribe, share, please. And we'll follow up on more Infinity Insanity. And once I read more, I'll give you some more information.
Okay, We'll have to, maybe we'll touch base on this again. Well, thank you for checking it out. Thanks for tuning in. even though you don't have to tune anything. This isn't a radio.
Internet connection. Thanks for connecting.
We'll see you next time.
Have a good one.